Oh, we're recording.
We're recording. Yes.
Here we go.
My. I'm today is October 27th.
It is.
I didn't hide that very well, that I didn't know what date it was, did I?
And how did you realize it was the 27th?
I looked down on my computer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So
I would have panicked.
I almost did. So here we are to do another MAAT session, another music and art after trauma session. Thank you for being here. And I am Margaret Major. I am a registered counseling therapist here at the After Trauma Empowerment Network in Scotia, Nova Scotia. I'm joined with Vida Woodworth, who is co-host and chairperson on our board of directors. Kate Matthews is also here. She's behind the scenes and you won't see Kate. Kate is our technical director and boss of Zoom. And we're also joined with Leanna MacLeod this evening. We're going to be talking to Leanna and learn lots about her wisdom that she has to share. And she's got a lot. She's an extraordinary person and artist. So first, we'll do our diversity welcome, and then we'll do a check-in with Vida, and then we'll just let it flow. Yes. Okay. So I would like to welcome all women, men, transgender, and other identified individuals here today. I welcome everyone here who is a mother, father, sister, brother, auntie, uncle, cousin, son, daughter, grandmother, or grandfather. Welcome. I welcome people of all races, tribes, and descent. I welcome your bodies, your mind, and your energy. I welcome survivors and those who support them. I welcome all people single, married, celibate, partnered, dating, or involved in whatever sort of relationship is right for you. I welcome gay, lesbian, bisexual, heterosexual, queer, asexual, two-spirited, and others for whom none of the current labels speak. I welcome your emotions, your joy, your bliss, your sadness, frustration, hope, contentment. Welcome. I welcome everyone's special way of understanding and knowing the world. Everyone's wisdom, whether it is education that has been learned in schools, colleges, universities, and/or the deep and profound school of life. I welcome those living with chronic medical conditions, visible or invisible. I welcome mystics, seekers, and believers of all kinds. I welcome people who identify as activists, community leaders, musicians, artists, group members, and those who don't. And finally, I'd like to welcome the ancestors who lived in this land where we are now. Welcome the spirits of Mi'kmaq, the natives who lived in this area before the Europeans came. I'd like to acknowledge them and invite their spirits to this space. Everyone, welcome. Okay. And thank you again for being here. And we also want to extend our heartfelt thanks and gratitude to the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia for their financial support and funding for this project, MAAT. We are, every time we do our show, we are immensely grateful to the Mental Health Foundation for their support. Yes. We never had too much support by that.
No.
No. Okay, so how are you doing on this October 27th, 2021?
I'm doing fine. Yes, I have Leanna sitting next to me, and we're going to be talking to her in a little bit. And I've been so excited knowing that this was the week that she was coming on the show. I didn't sleep very well until this afternoon, when I fell asleep sitting up on the couch and almost missed this evening. Somehow, miraculously, I woke up at 10 to 4 and rushed and got ready and was able to meet here with Leanna. So I
I'm
guess I
glad that you
decided,
made it, Vida. I'm glad
yes,
that you made it.
so am I, so is Leanna. Yeah, so it's been a good week. Earlier we were, there's been some stuff in the news again.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit of a news hound. And well, the first thing I think that I heard about was our former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien with his great pronouncement to everyone that he hadn't really heard about anything going on in the residential school system.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the abuses and so on, which is rather unbelievable and ironic, given he was the minister of what was then Indian Affairs, I believe for 6 years. And then he was prime minister up until 1996. And it would have been almost impossible, especially when he was involved in the government and in politics, to not be aware of the things that had happened. And, I believe, up until the early 90s, some of the schools were still open. So I used the BS word when I responded on, and so did a few other people. So that was a bit of not a shocker, but I guess a disappointment for me, in a way, that he even now won't admit to being aware that things were happening. And then the other thing in the news, not the only other thing, but one of the things I guess just happened yesterday. It was released, and now the Chicago Blackhawks are talking about it. The fact that they had a trainer or a coach who had been sexually abusing players, and he had worked for them for a period of time, and also had coached or trained people at much younger ages. And so we know that there's at least 1 or 2 players who've come forward. So if one person comes forward, we know that there are many, many others. Years ago, I remember reading a statistic that said that the average person who abuses or sexually abuses children will have between 80 to 200 victims before somebody tells, or at least until somebody tells someone who realizes that they're telling. Because sometimes people try to tell and it's not always obvious in obvious ways. It can be more indirect, making comments about someone like, I really don't like my coach, or I really don't like the man that helps us work out, would be a more indirect way. And if the person they're telling asks them, well, what is it that you don't like? And then they are able to say, well, I don't like it because they do, and they tell the thing that they're doing, then it becomes more evident. So I think, all of us should remember when somebody says something like, I don't care for that person, or I don't like this person, or I don't like what they do, especially when it's a child. It's important that we don't put words in their mouths, but we ask, well, what is it that you don't like? And, maybe they'll say, I don't like it because when they babysit me, they don't give me cookies like Grammy does. Or maybe they'll say when they babysit, they make me do things I don't like. So again, please remember, when you hear something that isn't quite making sense to you, or that you should ask more about, please do it. And maybe especially children will be heard sooner and we don't have to wait until they're adults and can tell. So that was another thing, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about that story as it continues to break and more people talk about it. And just as we did when Graham James, the coach who abused Sheldon Kennedy and other hockey players, when that story broke. And it's a great reminder, and I know, Margaret, you are, and many people are advocates for the idea that, yes, men too are victims of sexual assault and abuse, and as are boys. And again, our services are always available to anyone, no matter what their gender, no matter their age, or any other thing. We're open for anyone. And so I guess those were two things that I, noticed in the news tonight that I just wanted to say something about. So
Yes, and
anyway,
I hope that I don't mean this to sound awkward, but we know statistically that a great percentage of NHL players have experienced these kind of sexual violations, and hopefully the people who have experienced this will prompt them to talk to someone about this or reach out.
yeah,
because we know it's happening statistically. And
Yeah.
I did have it on my list here, Vida, and I should have said it before I did my check-in with you about a trigger warning.
yes,
So yes, some of the topics that come up on this program, because it is music and art after trauma, sometimes topics, words, phrases could be triggering for somebody who may have experienced trauma, violence, or abuse in their history. And we just want to remind you that if you need to walk away, please do. Call someone who can listen, who can be there for you and honor the space that you need if you do get triggered. And there will be phone numbers down at in the description underneath the video once this gets posted on YouTube. If you are triggered or you have a friend, you have a family member who needs to talk to someone, there will be phone numbers at the screen that you can use to reach out. Okay, I just wanted to say that loud.
And the other thing, just I guess news came to mind, and I only read some brief things on my Twitter. I don't know how to twit, but I can read Twitter.
Are they twits?
Yes.
I think they're tweets.
Well, that's a good thing. I'm not doing it then. I don't even know how to say it. Yes, I haven't tweeted myself. It made sense to say twit. Anyway, and it's such a serious thing I'm going to say next.
Okay,
I did see,
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm the one that said twit. I noticed 2 tweets, and I may have missed some, but unfortunately, or fortunately, you look at it that way, the RCMP announced 2 arrests of 2 people, male peoples, for creating child pornography and other related charges in our local area. And so once again, I've heard people saying things like, oh, well, it doesn't happen that often. Or, it only happens in other places. And here's another example of this kind of child pornography, child exploitation, sexual abuse happening in our own community and being created in our own community. And once it is created, it can be sent and consumed by other child abusers anywhere in the world. So, good on the RCMP for catching them and again, I'm sure there are statistics that tell us that for every one that gets caught, there's probably quite a few hundred that don't get caught. You know, it's sad that the resources we have to investigate these kinds of crimes, we have the team there, but it's so understaffed that they sometimes have to decide, okay, you know, who is the person we're most likely to be able to catch you know, today or tonight, and you know, it may not, or who is the person that appears to have the most victims and maybe the one with less, you know, they have to make decisions that are hard decisions to make because they don't have enough staff to investigate all of the things that they're seeing. So again, adults and people, if you see anything that appears to be child pornography, or again, a child is talking to you about something that does not make sense, you know, about videoing or taking pictures, and please find out and report and do something, because the people who do these things rely on us just ignoring it or thinking it's not our business. And yeah, anywhere, it can happen anywhere. I worked in a building that had public computers, and 2 times we caught people who were accessing and viewing child pornography in the public computers in a very public building, and with lots of people around. And they had been doing it for a while, and finally on one of the days they did it, someone saw it and said something to the right person, and it was reported. So yeah, it can happen anywhere, anytime, in your own home, in, you know, a public library. It doesn't matter. They just need access to the internet and to a computer. So anyway, sorry, that was another
No, that's
thing.
that's an important one.
Yeah. So
That's important.
yeah, it's all around us, and we need to keep our eyes open and our ears open, and be the voice for someone maybe who can't say anything, or doesn't know what to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. I think I'm finished, Margaret.
Okay.
You're so patient. You wait for me a good 30 seconds before you move on.
Well, you have valuable things to say, Violet.
Yeah.
You're very knowledgeable, and you have
Wow.
very valuable things that I wanted to share.
Well, except for the part about the tweets.
Oh, the twits. Yes. Yes. No.
The twits.
Don't be twitting.
I haven't twitted yet.
I'm not
Why
sure
I
if that's a curse word or not.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that was a little too much information I shared. Oh dear. Anyway.
Well, before I just want to make a comment about, well, today wasn't especially lovely, but the weather the past week has just been beautiful. It's been perfect. Like, and the little bit of wind and the autumn leaves blowing through the air, and it's just what a beautiful time of year.
Yeah.
Now today it's cold, damp, wet, chilly, gets in your bones, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You're old like me, it gets in your bones. But yeah, I just wanted to comment on the weather. So now we can hopefully we can listen and learn from Leanna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm excited. I hope people have been able to see that there are not two of me, there are 2 of us here tonight. And Leanna is our first guest to join us live in our recording place. I wouldn't call it a studio because it's not really a studio, but
not yet anyway.
Not yet. We may, get to that point, but anyway, yes, I have Leanna beside me, and I will just say a few words. I met Leanna gosh, how many years ago now?
2016.
2016. Yeah. Can you hear Leanna okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. And we both met. I was working at the Nova Institution, the prison for women in Truro, and Leanna came in the beginning as a student placement, and I'll let her decide whether it was lucky or unlucky. I think she met me on our on our first day there, and we were working on a project for the missing and murdered Indigenous women. We were creating dolls to put on a display that was being done in the institution and helping educate not just the women inmates, but also the staff and people who come through there about the big issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women. And, you know, I've spoken about this a few times before, and tonight I had on a hoodie that has our stolen sisters with the red hand, the symbol of for that for missing and murdered Indigenous women. So anyway, Leanna and I met at Nova and became I wouldn't say partners in crime because we were working in a prison. On my part anyway, we became fast friends, and yeah, it spent many hours working, and then when we had free time talking, and I learned a lot from Leanna. But tonight I'm going to let Leanna introduce herself to the rest of you, and then I'll ask her some questions. So, and again, I think if anybody has questions, you can type them in, and we'll relay them to Leanna as well. So,
Okay.
welcome, Leanna, and I'll let you tell us a little bit about yourself.
So thank you, Vida. Thank you, Margaret, Kate, for welcoming me into your lovely, studio, did you call it?
I called it a studio,
Okay,
yeah.
so we'll say it's
yeah,
studio.
well,
It's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, so I think a lot of other people should come in and check out the office or the studio, sorry.
That's okay.
Anyway, thank you once again. My name is Leanna MacLeod. I am an Indigenous woman, Mi'kmaq woman. Our family originates from the Millbrook First Nation, also the Ilground First Nation. I am a daughter of the late Nora Bernard. Many of you will know who Nora Bernard is. She was the lady who was the trailblazer who brought a lawsuit against the Canadian government and also the churches. And she started her work in 1986, and it ended in 2007 upon her being murdered. She spent 21 years working to bring justice for the Indian residential school survivors down here in Nova Scotia. And as I look out the window, I'm faced towards where the Indian residential school, the Shibenagity Indian residential school, was situated at one time. Lots of terrible memories for many. It's a sad time. It's a sad part of history. It's a dark part of history. However, it's something that has been experienced, and justice did come in 2007 with my mother winning the largest lawsuit in Canadian history. Something that I'm proud of. I knew she worked very hard. I worked alongside of her for 21 years to help her in making this possible. Also, I helped with her reports. I did a lot of things. We did fundraising. I made items to help her financially to be able to travel throughout Nova Scotia, Ontario. She went through the States, meeting with Indigenous survivors. counseling. She was also a counselor. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you yourself have worked since her murder.
Yes, absolutely. When I lost Mom, Nora, I had returned to Eagle's Nest as a treatment counselor, and I was a counselor for, I don't know, 7 years, and then I went on to be the treatment director there, and I was there quite some time. And then I decided, because I had experienced some, because I didn't take the time to grieve, I went through burnout. And like I told Vida, it was 13 weeks that I experienced the burnout. People think the grieving time, it should be very limited. I spent 13 years grieving. And so through the grieving aspect, what's helped me is the arts part. Since I was probably around 3, I would think my mom, she would take me and my sisters across to Granddaddy Cope's place. In the back, in the field, the sweetgrass grows. She taught us how to find it, how to clean it, how to pick it. I should have said first.
Yeah.
And how to make items. And our family is the only ones that make the particular sweetgrass broom. And anyhow, my mom, she would have all of us in a circle sitting on the floor, and she would be teaching us. And as she taught us, we weren't to speak, we were to listen, and we were to learn from her. And so we were always into like arts and crafts, making things. She was a single parent, so we made items, we sold, and that's how it helped us to get back to school with clothing and food and whatever else that we needed. Yeah. So I am a certified addiction counselor and also a family counselor. My dream is to open up a healing lodge. That was Mom's dream. She used to go into all the federal institutions as an elder, and she believed that the people there needed that extra help, and if the resources and services have been in place, maybe a lot of them wouldn't be incarcerated today. That's my goal. And like I told Vida, I plan to take her and Margaret and the team with me when I'm able to accomplish this.
You will.
I think the service is so needed, not only for my Indigenous people, but for everyone.
Yes.
Men, women, children, whoever need us. I think we have special skills that can reach them. And
yeah, it's interesting. You and I met and we worked together at the women's prison in Truro, and in 1996 it kind of went through a transition. And it went from being one institution for all the women in Canada to being several spread out throughout the country. And in Truro, we have the Nova institution there for any women with, or people who identify as women, sentenced to 2 years or more, or a federal prison sentence. And one of the things that changed in 96 was the recognition that Indigenous women needed to have to be connected and stay connected to their culture. And so a lot of the directives and the things that guide us when we work there are specific to Indigenous women. And so they are, allowed to practice some of their, cultural practices and to learn about their culture and so on. And the thing I found interesting was how many non-Indigenous women recognized the value and found comfort and healing in participating in those practices. And it was made available to, of course, if it was limited, then Indigenous women obviously would get first choice. But when it was possible, anyone was allowed to and encouraged to participate in a house that was specifically designed to Indigenous culture, and any of the training workshops and presentations and any of that stuff. And I think, as you say, your dream of your healing house, it will benefit everyone.
Everyone.
And you know, it's such a gentle culture. And you mentioned that you learned kind of at the feet of your mother. And you also have mentioned too that you have taught your children and your
And my
grandchildren.
grandchildren.
And do you use the same kind of practice as your mother, in that they are to listen while you teach?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our circle is most important, and still today we'll have talking circles. That's all done sitting in the circle. Everything is in a circle. So
Yes.
it's so important. That's where our strength comes. What I wanted to mention also, because we have very beautiful culture. Our teachings are amazing, and I think everyone would benefit from it. In 2004, I was a court worker, and I worked out of Halifax. Anyhow, I was big on sentencing circles, and because in the courtroom, the person will go in and either plead guilty or not guilty, and the judge sentences them. Anyhow, with the sentencing circle option, they were able to come into the circle, and I really promoted the sentencing circles in Halifax, and we would have the judge, the crown attorneys, and lawyers in our circles, and you would hear the history of what the victim and the offender both went through throughout their lifetime. So that kind of, you got to know this individual on a different basis, other than just standing in front of the judge and pleading guilty or not guilty.
Yeah.
And the recommendations, we would do 4 rounds in the circle, and the recommendations would come from that circle. We would have an elder there, we would have support people, resource people, like I said, the victim, the offender, and you just got to hear so much, and you had a better understanding of maybe why they committed the crime and what could they do to make restitution. Was so important, and a lot of non-Indigenous people don't have that opportunity to be heard, or for the judge to maybe understand, maybe they too had been victims of various abuses, and that brought them to where they were involved in the criminal justice system. I would like for everyone, doesn't matter what culture you come from, I would like for everyone to have that opportunity. I'll have to share this, because people are going to say she went against the sentencing circle, which I did when my mother was murdered, because you can't make restitution with murder. You can't bring that person back. There's no amount of money ever that will bring back the person that was murdered. And my mother was the one that was murdered, and I petitioned against it, and he was not permitted a sentencing circle. When you have petty crimes, when you're starting with petty crimes, and yes, a sentencing circle, absolutely, because I find if you connect and reach a person when they're initially getting involved, we can have resources and other services put in place to help the individual or individuals. but with murder, or another one that they don't do sentencing circles for is anything sexual offense.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's still the same today, but I do know the murder part is not, they will not do a sentencing circle.
Yeah.
But I do believe in them. I do
Yeah.
believe, you know, because we need to be able to reach the person at the earliest point
Yeah.
as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that I know you did a lot of, and you've always done in your life, is use making crafts as a way to allow conversation to happen. And I remember, you know, working with you. One of the things you did with the women, or projects you did, was to do the talking stick,
Oh, yes.
and the women got to create their own talking stick, and it was fascinating to help you and to learn myself, but also to just hear the conversations that just happened. And you know, some of these conversations, no matter how good a program would be, would never happen anywhere else. And I know you used to use, you know, making crafts as a way to do the work that you did. And you know, it might be you know, teaching anything, but you would always, when you could, include crafting as part of it. And you know, the women would talk away and share and get along with each other. Whereas, you know, take them out of that place and time and put them out in the hallway, and they might, you know, not even speak to each other. And I'm wondering, for you throughout your life, other than your mother being your teacher and the importance of that, what value, or what you have found helpful for yourself when you do your crafting and do this work?
I did share with you for quite some time. I lost mom in 2007, and I think it was like 2017. I had performed a wedding ceremony, and the lady that I had performed the ceremony for, her and her husband, we became good friends. And like she said, she did her research on me.
She studied the book of Leanna.
Yeah, yes, she did. Anyhow, we had met, and she had shared that she had done her research, and she knew who I was and who my mom was. And anyhow, so she had asked me if I knew how to make moccasins, and I said, yeah, because I do all leather work, and I'm a wood carver, I'm a drum maker, I do lots of stuff. That was taught to me at an early age, like I said, around 3, I would think, with my mom being the teacher. Anyhow, she asked me if I could make a pair of moccasins for her husband. And so I asked her what kind of, like, what ideas, what design was she looking for? And she said, the bear paw. And I said I could do that. And mind you, I hadn't done any kind of creating after losing mom. From 2007 upwards of 2017, I didn't do the designing or the creation myself. I found it very difficult because, like I had shared, that was an activity with my mom and with a sister in my basement. We'd have the wood stove going, and a pot of tea on the wood stove, and she would teach us, and we're making stuff and we're selling it, and just living the life. It was a good life.
Yeah.
And with much teachings. Anyhow, when I lost her, I lost everything. I lost the desire to create. and I had all my carving tools. I had everything. I still do.
Mhm.
Just sitting there. And this one day I went home with my sister, Janice, to Parksboro. And I said, I have that desire to create, but I don't know how to get back to it because she wasn't there. Mom
Mhm.
was no longer there.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, and you know, when people say, oh, the grieving period's only for a particular time. No, I spent 13 years grieving.
Yeah.
And with going back to the moccasins, it took me, I'm thinking 3 to almost 4 months to create a pair of moccasins, and which only would take me like overnight, a weekend to create.
Mhm.
Anyway, creating these moccasins, I went through the grieving period. I cried. I was angry. I had to rip those moccasins apart, try putting them back together. And that grieving aspect, that's what we do
Mhm.
after a loss. We try to put our life back. It'll never go back the same,
Mhm.
but we try to move on in life and use tools that were taught to us, skills that were taught to us, in trying to cope and to manage and to move forward. And so it took a while for my friend to receive the moccasins
Mhm.
for her husband. And I told her, I said, one day, I said, I'm going to write a book about the moccasins.
Yes.
And because that was my healing
Mhm.
journey for, you know, in the grieving aspects of, you know, the loss. Anyhow, lately I've been getting back, feeling more empowered. I'm letting my hair grow.
Mhm.
It's been, that's where we gain our strength, and we're more empowered. So with that, I have my dream still. I held
Mhm.
on to my dream that I will have a healing lodge, and I will help people. I will help all people. And like I said, I'm taking you, Margaret, and Kate
Mhm.
along with me. And
Happily.
yeah, so
Yeah.
what I've been doing lately, I first designed and created the little orange top there that Margaret has on. Maybe Margaret
Yes.
can
Yes.
read you what it means. I've also started with the little knit apps, my friend. That's in Mi'kmaq. That's what it means, is my friend. I shared with Vida and Margaret and Kate that I learned, I think Mom was around 68 years old, that she had never had a doll. And in the Indian residential school, they were given a doll to hold for picture taking. And once the news or whoever the officials had left, the dolls were taken from them. And she said she had never had a doll before. And it only came out because a friend of mine who sold Princess House with me, she had stopped over at my mom's, and a new doll had come in from Princess House. And she said, she asked me if I had saw the doll yet. And I said, no. And so she went out and brought it in, and my mother's eyes, when she looked at this beautiful doll, she had said, oh my goodness, that she's never had a doll. And my friend had taken the doll and gently gave it to her. And my mother cradled that doll. And I looked at her and I thought, oh my goodness, I wonder why she never ever told us. Because I would have carved her one. I would have made one from leather.
Yes.
Whatever, you know, it took just for her to have that doll. Anyhow, so I've come up with these here. Why do you want to hold it?
Sure.
I come up with these here little knit apps. They're my friend. And I was going to first call it
A
Nora's
little closer.
little knit app. And I've been working
Aw.
through, trying to not separate myself from mom, but to own my own self identity. And so that was created in her honor. Everything I create is in her honor. And other, survivors or murder, missing women, men. I always have that focus. And they say, when you're creating, when you're designing,
Mhm.
if you're
Okay.
feeling, unhealthy or negative or any, sick or whatever, you never make anything, because if I'm angry or if I'm not feeling well, that's what I would be putting into my items.
Mhm.
And we never do that, because then we're passing that on to somebody else.
Yeah, and with your moccasins, you would need to take time because you were very aware of not wanting to do that for your friend.
Yeah, that's right.
And that would have taken more time because you were struggling with those emotions.
Oh,
And
yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the moccasins were completed. They turned out absolutely beautiful. I found that I was further in my healing journey because of these moccasins.
Yes.
Which I'm so grateful for, because when, like, as an Indigenous person, we need those moccasins
Hmm.
to be moving forward,
Yeah.
because we can't continue to look back.
Yeah.
There's no going back, it's only going forward. Did I answer everything that?
I think so.
That was
I'm,
so beautiful. Such a beautiful story of the
yeah.
moccasins.
Oh, I thank you.
Did you
hope
have
do
any?
write the book, Leanna? You need to
Yeah.
write the book.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have
Thank
any
you.
questions, Margaret? Because I've kind of just taken right
Ooh.
over. And we've got about probably 5 minutes, 6 minutes left. It's all
Well-
yours, Margaret.
Okay.
And if anybody has any questions, please contact Vida, Margaret. They have my contact information.
Yes.
I'd be
Yeah.
more than happy to
Yeah.
share.
And Leanna has offered, if there's interest, to do some workshops here at our office.
I know.
And so
counseling.
please, if people for counseling, or even just if you wanted to learn more about drum making or medicine bag or about the oh, it went right out of my head.
Talking sticks.
Talking sticks, smudging is what I was trying.
Dreamcatchers.
Dream
Yeah,
catchers,
thank you.
yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, I will stop
you.
though. So Margaret, you can speak now.
Well, I guess I have probably 3. I don't know if I'll
Okay.
get to ask them all. So Leanna gifted us some of her crafts, some of her projects, and in there was the little smudging package. And I think everybody needs one of those in their car, in their every room of their house, because you never know when you need that.
Yeah.
So
that clearing and yeah.
I'm not sure what order to ask these. So we had talked before we came on just briefly about the 7 sacred teachings, and I wondered if you could just speak to that for a moment.
Okay, thank you. I was going to, and it kind of just,
Yes.
so maybe Vida, what I could get you to do is put those teachings on your hand.
Yep.
So in our Indigenous culture, the 7 sacred teachings is our foundation as to how we live our life, how we're supposed to conduct ourselves with others.
Do you want them
And-
turned up so people can see?
Yeah, you can.
There.
So in a way that I explain it to individuals, it's like you pour the foundation for your home. And the 7 sacred teachings is within this foundation. If you have all of those foundations, the teachings, you have balance, you have strength, you have power. and the strength. If you're missing one, the foundation, the home that sits on the foundation, it weakens. And then if we,
Take them down so you can.
the more teachings that are lost, they're never really lost. They're just put on, how can I put that?
They're sort of, I guess, on the back burner.
Could be the back burner,
Or
especially when we're in our addiction. We don't think of all the good teachings that were taught to us. We don't rely on them or go to them.
it's almost like they get tucked in a pocket and forgotten,
Yeah.
but not lost, as you
Mhm.
say. Yeah.
Well, if we're in our addiction, we're not supposed to be handling our items, sweetgrass, sage, cedar, tobacco. We don't want to contaminate. That could be another topic for another discussion, because we have lots of teachings. They say never to, even with alcohol, if we have our eagle feather in the home, you're never to bring alcohol in. And myself, I'm a recovering alcoholic and a drug addict, and I haven't drank or drugged in, must be close to 30 years.
Mhm.
September 13th. Yeah. So I know the importance of our teachings, and I know the pain that it can bring. And when I was the director, I would teach the clients, if you're going to drink or drug, then you need to pass on your talking stick, your eagle feather, whatever, your medicines to somebody who can look after them while you can't.
Yeah.
And then once they're healing and going through their, healing journey and in their sobriety, then they can be given back their items to care for. We can't care for our items when we're not healthy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what I'll do is get Vita to choose one, or the teaching will choose her. So Vita, can you choose one? And how does that teaching reflect your life?
Love.
Oh,
Yes. Ah, wow. I am very fortunate to be surrounded by love in my life, the love of family and friends. I lost the love of my life. It'll be 3 years on the 2nd of November. But she is still with me and always will be with me. And I think of her and that love as I was very fortunate to have her almost 30 years in my life and here with me. And I continue to have her with me, even though she's not here in physical form, but she most certainly is here in spiritual form. And yeah, it's something that there was a question on my Facebook the other day, and it said, what does a good, strong woman always need to have in her life? And some people, or a good, no, it wasn't strong, but a woman need to have in her life. And some people have put strength and courage and whatever. And I answered love, because to me, without love, if we don't have that in our lives at some point, it's very hard to do anything else. And yeah, no, this is these are this is so, it's so simple in one way, but so powerful in another.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
so the other, I'll list the 7 sacred teachings, and then, okay, respect, love, courage, honesty, humility, truth, and wisdom.
Yeah.
We have all this, we're balanced.
Yeah.
We're living a good life.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Did you have
Okay.
another question, Margaret?
I do.
We're still okay. We can go a
Yep.
little over.
Oh, we can go all night long.
Yeah, yeah. There's no rule makers in here, so.
I might just need a fresh air break at some point, that's all. So this is the work that your mom did, Nora. What, like, to me, the strength, the resilience, the perseverance, the dedication that she had to fight that for so long. What is it you hope, I guess, is remembered most about your mom?
That she was very courageous. She too was an addiction counselor, and she worked at Eagle's Nest. Like I said, she started her justice journey back in '86, and she had, I'll speak of one visit, and it was from a nun who had, they had just moved into the new Eagle's Nest, the treatment center, and she had went up to the office and approached my mother and told her she better stop talking about the nonsense, that it wasn't true. And shortly after that, my mother left Eagle's Nest as a treatment counselor. Over the years, she received threatening letters, and she was threatened that she would be put out of the Catholic Church. My mother had a strong belief in the Catholic religion. She believed in the angels and the saints. She said her prayers before 11 o'clock every day. Anyhow, when she was told that she would be exonerated from the Catholic Church, she was hurt, but yet
Excommunicated. Yes.
Sorry. Yes. Anyhow, she was hurt, and she couldn't understand why they would feel that, because she was being truthful, she was being honest.
Yeah.
And she was called a liar. And a lot of even the survivors were in fear of speaking out, and with that, they had to relive those emotions and the feelings and everything that came with it. And there were some that wasn't willing or even able to or capable of going through those emotions. Over the years working with my mother, I was able to sit in with survivors and listen to them, and just hearing them, from that child's perspective, going, coming on a train, being apprehended, put onto a train and coming a distance, and being left off over at the train station here in Shibboleth. They would have to walk over to the school, a little boy, a little girl, and to see an older woman or an older man, strong individuals, very productive individuals, break down and cry, just retelling that story, reliving that nightmare. My mom was a very courageous woman.
Yeah.
She took a stand, and when she was called a liar, she just kept moving forward. And like I had shared with you, my mother always said, if you speak the truth, you have nothing to worry about. And with that, I'll take that.
Yeah.
And she was an amazing woman. She was very humorous also, very kind. There were 6 of her children, and she was a single parent, but she also she brought in children to care for. So, and she's the only lady that we didn't have a dad at home who financially helped. It was her that worked 2 jobs, and here she is looking after her children and a lot of other people's children. So to me, she was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Just extraordinary. I mean,
Yeah.
so inspiring on so many different levels.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're so honored, Leanna, that you took time out of your day to come and visit us in this space and to share some of your story. I know you have so much more, and hopefully we can have you back again,
Thank you.
and you can continue sharing with us. And just know from our hearts, thank you so much for sharing with us. It means so much.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, Leanna, as your friend, how proud I am to have you here sitting next to me, and how proud I am to call you a friend.
I'm sorry.
And we were meant to go to prison together,
Yes, we were.
and luckily we both got released
Yes.
close
Yes.
together. And yeah, I look forward to the day when we can move in with you, and
Yes.
look forward to
Yes.
our work together in getting there too, because half of the fun is the trip to get there. So
Yes.
Oh,
that's
yes.
right.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Vita.
So and you know, you were a wonderful woman and a wonderful person, and as they say, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. You
I
know,
agree.
I met your mother briefly, and did have the privilege of getting to know her a very little bit. But I know you were very much like her, and her journey is continuing through you and through your family, and anyway, so again, you are a gift giver, of your
Yeah.
knowledge and so on. So thank you for coming tonight, and
Oh, thank you, Vita.
yeah. Anyway, Margaret, I'll hand it back to you, and
We'll do our loving kindness exit.
sure, we usually
next-
do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just a reminder that next week we're on at 7.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to remember that, Vida, because I may show up
Yes.
here all, where's Vida and Kate?
Yes, and if I haven't fallen asleep on the couch, hopefully we will get here.
I did try calling you this afternoon, but
I know.
you had your ringer off, I think.
I know, and I'll try as soon as we're done. I'm going to turn it on,
Okay.
because if not, I'll forget it again.
Okay. Well, it all works out. It usually
Yes.
does. It usually
Yes,
does.
it does.
Okay, so we'll do our loving kindness meditation, and then we will say goodbye, and
Yeah.
we'll be back next week. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so for the next minute and a half or 2 minutes, just allow yourself to be in this space. If you're comfortable closing your eyes, please do so. If you're not comfortable closing your eyes, please find something that you can just fix your stare at for the next couple of minutes. Hear the sounds in the room around you, putting all of your worries and all of your stresses up on the shelf for the next minute or so. Allowing your breathing just to be natural. You don't need to control it in any way. You may notice your breathing start to slow down and begin to notice any tension you might be holding in your body. Begin to feel any tension start to drain away from you, from around your eyes, your face, through your neck, your shoulders, down your arms. Feel the tension drain like a liquid down through your body and out through your toes. Now begin to feel your body fill up with love. Imagine a loving white light entering your feet, and traveling up through your body, up to your stomach, to your chest, and your arms. Feel it almost bursting through your heart, your fingers, and through the crown of your head. When you feel embraced in that love, silently repeat the following words to yourself. May I be free from all harm. May I be safe and protected. May I be free from all suffering. May I be happy. May I be free from all disease and physical pain. May I be healthy and strong. And may I be able to live in this world happily, peacefully, joyfully, and with ease. Now turn your thoughts to this vast world, this huge world with all its living creatures. Continue to feel that love in your body as you silently say, may all beings be free from all harm. May they be safe and protected. May all beings be free from all suffering. May they be happy. May all beings be free from all disease and physical pain. May they be healthy and strong. And may all beings be able to live in this world happily, peacefully, joyfully, and with ease. Send your love as far out around the world as possible. Just imagine that energy traveling through the earth. Continue to feel that love centered around your heart. Carry this feeling with you through the rest of your day. Notice the weight of your feet on the floor, feeling yourself in this present moment. And when you are ready, you may slowly open your mouth. No wipeouts. No wipeouts.
You didn't drop them.
Yay.
I think before we go,
Yeah.
Margaret,
Yes.
next week we'll talk more, but we're having an open house coming up in November
Yes.
on the
November
19th.
2 to
So,
4? 2 to 4,
yeah.
I think is what we said. Yes.
Yeah, so we'll maybe talk more next week about it, but for
Yes.
those of you who want to see our studio, come on the open house. And we may have door prizes and things for
I
people.
think
And
we do, thanks to Leanna.
yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to remember to say
Good
that
one.
so people can put it on their calendar early.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah,
Good.
yeah.
memory. I didn't.
Slow, but I get there.
So yes, we will be back next week at 7.
7, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much for spending some time with us. And thank you so much, Leanna, for coming
Yes.
and sharing some of your wisdom with us. And
Yeah.
I definitely look forward to having you back already.
Thank you.
Okay, take
Okay.
care of yourself and take care of each other, all those living things.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
see you next week. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.